the silent hunger of the mountains, the journey begins. It was the start of a much-anticipated winter break. Clara's father had graciously offered his mountain cabin for the week, a place nestled in the isolated wilderness, surrounded by dense forests and blanketed in snow. 7 friends, Gabriella, Clara, Diana, Julia, Robert, Marcus, and Philip, were packed and ready for an adventure. Clara, the calm, collected host with a scar she rarely discussed, assured everyone of the cabin's charms. Though Diana was shy and a bit wary, Philip, her athletic, charismatic brother, eased her concerns. When they arrived, laughter filled the cozy space as they settled in, joking and laughing about the week ahead. Robert, always carefree and funny, seemed oblivious to the cabin's isolation. Gabriella, with her polished nails and layers of designer clothes, was already on edge due to the lack of mobile reception and the eerie silence surrounding them. Marcus, a self-proclaimed nerd, was more concerned about the lack of Wi-Fi but was secretly thrilled to be close to Clara. Julia, a calm and bright leader among them, seemed optimistic and took charge, helping everyone settle in and organizing meals. The first night they huddled around the fire, telling stories and enjoying the crisp night air, completely unaware of the ancient dangers lurking outside. Games and laughter. The second day was spent in lighthearted snowball fights, sledding, and casual hiking around the cabin. Julia and Clara worked on building an igloo with Diana, whose shy smile finally emerged as she relaxed. Gabriella complained incessantly about bugs and the snow messing up her outfit, but secretly she was grateful to be around friends. After dinner, they returned to the fire, playing card games and enjoying each other's company. Robert teased Gabriella, much to her irritation, and Marcus fumbled over his words whenever Clara was near. By the end of the night, everyone was exhausted, their laughter echoing in the quiet mountains. They went to bed tired, happy, and blissfully unaware that someone was watching them from the edge of the trees. The cold grows closer. On the third day, they explored the surrounding forest. Clara knew the area well, having visited with her family many times, and led them confidently through the snow-draped woods. They laughed as Philip and Robert attempted to race uphill, sliding down with a mix of grace and clumsy joy. Even Gabriella seemed at ease, taking selfies against the winter backdrop. As they wandered deeper, Clara noticed signs her father hadn't mentioned, a strange pattern of branches twisted into symbols and patches of animal fur hanging from the trees. She laughed it off, trying to calm the unease growing within her, and suggested they turn back. By nightfall, everyone felt the forest silence bearing down on them. That night, strange sounds whispered through the trees, unsettling everyone, especially Diana, who swore she saw a shadow moving between the trees. They went to bed with an odd sense of discomfort, dismissing it as tricks of the light. Shadows in the night. The fourth night marked the beginning of something darker. Marcus was reading a sci-fi novel by the fire when he thought he saw a figure outside. The firelight flickered, and he shook his head, dismissing it as paranoia. But when he told Philip and Robert, they laughed nervously, saying they'd also felt like someone was watching them. Gabriella scoffed, saying it was probably just the ghosts of mountain hermits, though she clearly didn't want to be left alone. Julia tried to calm everyone down, but Clara couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Later that night, the group heard faint footsteps outside, crunching in the snow, but when Robert peeked through the window, there was no one there. They laughed it off again, but the laughter was uneasy, and the night ended in tense silence. Unwanted company. The fifth day began with an eerie sense of unease. They stayed indoors as snow piled around the cabin, yet something felt off, as if an invisible presence was lingering nearby. Gabriella, on edge, kept saying she felt like they were being watched. Diana, too, said she saw strange shadows flickering through the window, making her feel like they were being haunted. That evening, the group huddled together, talking in low whispers. Philip tried to lighten the mood, suggesting they were just imagining things. Marcus and Julia tried to comfort Diana while Clara remained quiet, staring out the window with a faraway look, her own fears stirring memories she'd kept buried. The first sign. As they woke up on the sixth morning, they found something chilling. One of the cabin windows had been smashed, shards of glass glittering across the snow. They assumed it was an animal, but Gabriella insisted it was something else. She felt a rising dread, something primal, yet the others brushed it off as paranoia. After dark, they gathered to discuss what to do, Gabriella suggesting that they call for help. But their phones showed no signal, and the landline was down. Tension mounted as they took turns keeping watch, their nerves fraying as the shadows around them seemed to draw closer, mocking their fear. Signs of the beast. The seventh night, terror took a grim turn. They woke to find a severed pig's head on the porch, fresh blood staining the snow red. Gabriella screamed, and even Philip couldn't hide his fear. It was more than an animal's doing, it was a sign, a warning. As the group debated their options, panic setting in, Clara revealed stories her father had once told her, legends of creatures that prowled the mountains during the harshest winters. Diana was especially fearful, clinging to Philip, who tried to calm her, though his own face was pale with fear. The cabin felt like a trap, and everyone knew something was coming for them. Encounter with the stranger. That night, desperate for any signal, Gabriella wandered a few yards from the cabin. Suddenly, a figure appeared, a man covered in red paint, motioning for silence. Gabriella froze, a terrifying growl filling the air as the stranger warned her of a creature called Wendigo. He described it, a towering, monstrous creature with the head of a wolf, 8 feet tall, its claws dripping with menace. Wendigo was more than just a legend. It was a curse, a predator that sought human flesh during the winter. His people, he explained, hunted it, but they were not always successful. He warned her to stay silent, to avoid drawing its attention. The first loss. Gabriella ran back to the cabin, recounting the encounter, but Robert laughed at her, dismissing the stranger's warnings. Fueled by bravado, he went outside, shouting into the woods. His laughter stopped abruptly, followed by a horrific scream that echoed through the trees. The others rushed outside only to find blood-stained snow and a severed leg. Panic set in as they barricaded themselves in the basement, too horrified to sleep, listening to the sounds of something circling outside. Gabriella, once indifferent, was now trembling with fear, Philip and Diana clinging to each other, and Marcus staring blankly as if unable to process the horror. A deadly vigil. The night stretched on, filled with horror as Gabriella spotted Wendigo, watching from the window. She fought to remain silent, paralyzed by terror. Suddenly, a group with flaming torches emerged, attacking the creature with fiery arrows, their chants piercing the night. They were the stranger's people, locked in a violent struggle with the beast. As they fought, blood soaked the ground. The friends watched in terror as Marcus, desperate to prove himself, fetched gasoline from the cellar. Joined by Philip and Clara, he crept outside, dousing Wendigo with gasoline while it was distracted. In the chaos, Wendigo clawed Marcus, leaving him with a deep, bloody gash, before the stranger ignited the gasoline, setting the creature ablaze. A dark dawn. As dawn broke, the group, numb and exhausted, stumbled into the safety of morning light. The stranger's tribe approached, thanking them but warning that Wendigo's curse was far from over. With daylight came a desperate radio call for help. Hours later, rescue helicopters arrived, lifting the broken group from the blood-stained snow. Robert's fate remained a grim mystery, and even after their rescue, no one believed their story. Labeled as traumatized, they were sent for psychiatric care, each haunted by memories of the hunger that had stalked them in the dark mountain woods. The Wendigo's curse was older than memory, and though they'd survived, they carried its shadow with them, a terror that would never truly die.